Hello, I'm Caleb. I'd like to speak to you a little bit about what I've done this past year. 6 months ago, I opened a coffee shop, the Foyer. We're a late-night coffee shop. I'd like to tell you a little bit about what we are, why I decided to start it, and a little bit of the process of how I went into it. So a little bit about what we are. Like I said, we're a nighttime coffee shop, so we're only open from 5 p.m. till 1 a.m. every night. Now, the reason I decided to do late time is because I grew up here in Huntsville, and in high school, I never felt like there was a lot to do. I never felt like there was much going on in the evenings, not a lot to, do with my friends other than just sit around the house. We always kind of dreamed of a place to just hang out where we could just be ourselves. And so that's one of the key things that I wanted to do with the Foyer is kind of give Huntsville that place, a place for kids to go and to hang out and to just be kids. Another one of my big passions is music. Although I'm not a musician myself, music has always been very important to me. Throughout my whole life, I've listened to a lot of music, and I feel like it's gotten me through a lot of different points in my life. So with that, one of the things we're doing at the Foyer is we're doing shows every Friday. We're doing them all local shows, trying to encourage young musicians to come in that maybe don't have a voice, that are not established, and kind of give them a place to play, give them an opportunity that they may not have had because they, don't have a voice yet. We want to give them that start point. We want to give them somewhere that they can just get a jump off the ground. And then long term, I'd really love to see us not only bring them in, but to be able to send them out, send them into other venues, send them into potential recording options, and begin to expose their music on a larger level. So that's kind of where we're headed and what I'm hoping to see happen. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the process that I went through and some of the ways I worked through going into a business. I'm only 22 years old. I didn't graduate from college. I just came out of high school and was looking for something to do. And I was looking into some different business options, and because of the reasons I stated, I started looking at this coffee shop idea. Now, going into it, I knew I needed to prepare. And so my initial preparation was saving money. And so I'll call this my first point of sacrifice because it meant working 3 jobs, working very long hours, and saving every penny that I had. So I was saving at every point that I got, which meant sometimes sacrificing social events. Friends would go out to the movies, and I would skip out because I had to save a couple bucks, or eat at home, eat a sandwich instead of going out to eat. These were some of just the small sacrifices I made, but the whole idea behind sacrifice is always looking beyond the moment, looking at the next step. So although it meant giving up a little bit, I kept my eyes focused on where I wanted to head and what I wanted to do, and I knew the figure that I needed in order to get there. And so you keep your eyes focused on the goal, and you push through the sacrifice. Now, one of the things I like to relate everything to in my life is my lifelong sport, which is gymnastics. I was competitive in gymnastics for 6 years, and now I've been a competitive coach for the last 6 years. Now, gymnastics is a very individual sport, and it's a little bit different than most of your standard sports in the sense that your average sport, you are taking one skill and you are honing it, you are improving it, and you are getting better through that same. For example, football, you're throwing and catching. The same concept applies at a basic level as it does at a professional level. Gymnastics is completely different. High level in gymnastics mean you're doing very high level skills. You obviously do not come in doing high level skills, just cleaning them up. You start at a very low level and then work building blocks up through the path. So the idea of sacrifice is very much embedded in the sport. It's something where you're working on a skill, you're drilling a skill that really is not even the purpose and the goal for what you're trying to get. You're putting all the time and all the sacrifice into a base level skill, just hoping to get to where you can do the advanced. So it's always kind of looking down the road, and as well in gymnastics, it's a very physically demanding sport. There's a lot of strength training that goes into it, which if anybody plays any sport, they know with training, with strength building, with endurance building, it takes a lot of pain, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of sacrifice in order to build yourself. And again, the same concept, you're always pushing yourself towards where you're headed, not where you're at in the moment. Now that was sort of the main thing I focused on going into this, and the sacrifice has not stopped with just saving money. It's meant working 7 days a week for the past 6 months, working around the clock, trying to push everything. I'm still working other jobs as well as running the Foyer and working as many hours as I can. there. So that's a sacrifice, and then continuing to give up things like social life and some of the other stuff that I want to do. But again, just always keeping your eye focused ahead, always staying focused on where I want to go. It's encouraging because we're bringing in new musicians and beginning to see sort of that long-term dream begin to lay out and play effect. And so there's encouragements along the way, but you're still having to battle through the hard times day to day. So the next step I sort of took going into the business was sort of a fail-safe. I didn't want to go in completely blind. I knew I had a dream, I knew I had this idea, and I was saving money, but I still wasn't really sure of what I was doing and wasn't really confident in the whole idea. I knew there were a lot of kids like me that wanted somewhere to go, but I still wasn't sure, how practical that was going to be. And so the next step I did was built myself a fail-safe plan, whereas I planned, okay, worst case scenario, everything goes wrong, no one comes out, what am I going to do? How am I going to handle it? So that just really involved running numbers, making sure that the lease that I was signing, I was going to be able to make myself through. That went into my financial planning, that went into everything that I was building up in order to prepare going into it. I didn't want to go into just this wild idea and just jump off a cliff and not know what was going to happen. I needed a backup. Not to say that I was planning to fail, but I feel like it was good to know that side of what I was getting into. Now, I'll relate this to gymnastics as well. Like I said, we do very high-level skills, and with those high-level skills, a lot of danger is involved. And so, although we know we're going into a danger skill, one, we've done our preparation, we've done our sacrifice, we've done our building blocks working up to it, so we do have that as a confidence builder. But we also know that there's a very high chance that we are not going to complete this skill on the very first try. And so what we do is we bring in crash mats, we bring in coach spotting, we bring in ways to prepare for the worst case scenario. That way, okay, it's a risk, but it's a calculated risk. You're not going in completely blind. You know what you're going into, and you have a backup plan in case all goes wrong. So that was really the second step. And the last step was really just something I call committing. I mean, once you get to the edge and you've done your preparation, you stand there on the edge, you just have to make a decision whether you jump or not. And one more time into gymnastics, when we are going for these skills, one of the biggest problems we'll have is when I'm training a kid to do something that's a very intimidating skill, it's very scary to go for because of the risk factor. We tell them the most important thing you can do is commit to this skill. Whether all goes great or all goes horribly, you're going to come out better off if you just go for it. As long as you've done your preparation, you know you're fail-safe, you're not going into something blind. Once you get to that edge, you go for it 100%. No backing out. If you back out, it will fail. It will end in disaster. And so when you get to the edge of your business, when you get to the point where you've decided everything's going, you go 110%, and you go as long as you have to and push as hard as you can and continue to sacrifice. Keep your eyes focused on the long term and just keep driving. And those are really sort of the main points that I focused on going into this, and of course I'm still learning a lot. I'm only 6 months in, and I still have a lot to learn, and I'm sure I have a lot of sacrificing to go through still, but I look forward to it because with the times of sacrifice, I feel like those are the times that we learn and we grow the most and really develop into what we're going to be. It's through that sacrifice that everything is built. And so I'll leave you with a quote from a book, Fight Club. And it says, "Without pain, without sacrifice, we have nothing." Thank you.